Discovery Street. This week we learned all about the tabernacle. For the Israelites, the law in the Old Covenant was directly connected to the tabernacle. We learned that it has three main sections that each contain items of significance that point us to Jesus. We start at the courtyard, then we enter the holy place, and then we reach the Holy of Holies. There was only one gate leading into the courtyard. In this area, you would find the bronze altar and the bronze laver. The bronze altar was used to sacrifice animals for sin offerings. Do you know how this points us to Jesus? That's right. Jesus is the sacrifice. He is the pure and spotless lamb. What about the bronze laver? The bronze laver was a bowl of water. This is where the priests would clean themselves after dealing with the blood from the sacrifices. Our connection here is that we can't truly clean ourselves with water, but that Jesus has to cleanse our heart from sin for us to be truly clean. Next, we get to the holy place. Just like the courtyard, the holy place only has one way in. Inside, you will find the golden lampstand, the table of showbread, and the altar of incense. In the holy place, there was only one light, and that light came from the golden lampstand. Do you remember what they would put into the lampstand to keep it burning? It was our curious thing this week in case you need a hint. Olive oil, that's right. The connection here is that Jesus is the light of the world. Across from this lampstand in the holy place is the table of showbread. The priest would put 12 fresh loaves of bread on it every Sabbath. Not only did the 12 loaves represent the 12 tribes of Israel, but it also pointed to the fact that Jesus is the bread of life. Now we have reached the altar of incense. This is right in front of the veil that is in the back of the holy place. The priest would put incense in this and it would burn a sweet smell all day long. This altar stood in between the regular holy place and the Ark of the Covenant, which represented as a mediator or a go-between. When we get to the New Covenant, we will see that Jesus is our mediator. He speaks to God for us. Finally, we get to the Holy of Holies. The veil I just mentioned at the back of the holy place is what separates the holy place from the Holy of Holies. When Jesus died, the veil in the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. This opened up the way to God. We can only have this access to Him if we go through Jesus. Behind this veil, we will find the Ark of the Covenant, which has a lid covering it called the mercy seat. The priests were only allowed behind this veil one time a year, and they had to take blood with them. This is where God Himself would dwell over the Holy of Holies. The cloud that could be seen here is called the Shekinah glory. The Ark of the Covenant represented the very throne of God. When Jesus died, Hebrews tells us that He took His blood and offered it before God's throne in heaven. Lastly, we've reached the mercy seat, which is the lid at the top of the Ark of the Covenant. Remember how the priests could only enter this area one time a year? Well, they would bring this blood and sprinkle it on the mercy seat. They were asking God for mercy. Mercy seat in the Greek and Hebrew means atonement or covering. The blood was sprinkled on it represented the fact that their sins were covered and God's wrath was satisfied for that year. Hebrews 9:11 and 12 sums up our Jesus connection perfectly. It says, "But when Christ appeared as a high priest for good things to come, He entered through the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this creation, and not through the blood of goats and calves, but through His own blood He entered the holy place once and for all, having obtained eternal redemption." It's important to remember that the systems and practices of the tabernacle were just a shadow. This was only a temporary solution until the new covenant came. There's only one way to get to God, and it's not by obeying the law and being good, because we all know that's impossible. The only way to get to God is to go through His Son Jesus. The Old Covenant was designed to make us want a better covenant. All along, God had a plan for a better covenant. He was just helping them understand why it was better.